So to get started, I'll just an overview of this evening. I'll give an introduction of myself. We'll speak about what mental skills are, why they're important, what the benefits are. Um, I'll also speak about what mental skills are not as well. That's a really important part. I'll go over the process and the method that I go through when I'm delivering the sessions and the way I see best fit mental skills being applied to youth athletes, and I'll go over that. I'll then speak about the session plans that I'll have for the teams. I've got a 5 session plan at the moment, and that will be what will get delivered first, and then we'll build from there. I'll speak about the next steps from after this evening's webinar, where we'll go from here. And then I'll take some questions if anything pops up during the webinar. Just the intro to mental skills. So what are mental skills? Simply put, they're tools for the mind, they're training of the mind. So often we see everyone training technically, tactically, 3-4 times a week, physically, depending on what age they're at, they're doing physical training multiple times a week. But there is often a huge lack of mental training, and it's not often offered or addressed within team environments or anything like that. And so it's so important that the amount of training we're doing physically and technically and tactically, that we're also training the mind. And so, as I mentioned, there are tools that we can use, and the tools that we can take into different environments and ensure that our mindset is in the right space for the environment that we're in. Now, there was some research done by the England Institute of Sport, and it found that 70% of an individual's behavior is determined by their environment. And so it's so important that the environment is a good space for the individual to be in. But there is still an element of that environment where the individual has a lot of control on their behavior. And so can we develop individuals to have the appropriate mindset within whatever environment they're in, no matter whether it's a really healthy and like a mentally healthy environment, or whether it's a really mentally challenging environment? Can they adapt to have a mindset where they can still thrive or perform in that environment? And so the mental skills are methods, are techniques that will help individuals to prepare themselves mentally, and that will allow them to, if they've been able to prepare themselves well, that will allow them to ideally improve their performance, whether it's just performance daily, at school, at home, or on the soccer field. These skills are things that they can use each day to overcome challenges and problem solve, make decisions and things like that. So that's just a bit of a mental skills in a nutshell. And so why are they important? Well, these skills are giving the individuals something to go to refer to when they're faced with something new, when they're faced with a challenge, when they're faced with a problem that they have to solve, when they're faced with a dip in attitude or motivation. And so they're really important, because when you're able to develop these mental qualities and have a mindset and have this ability to, I guess, address challenges when they come and not be put off guard or lose focus and things like that. So it's important that they have a skill set so that they can take care of challenges when they come. The other side of it is, or another important thing around them, is it allows the individual to gain control over what is in their control, and hopefully let go of what is outside of their control. So when you can control yourself mentally, and you have full control of your mind, and you don't let your mind take you in various different ways And when you're on the field, you don't let your mind take you off to what happened at school earlier today, or you don't let your mind take you to a challenge that you have faced at home, and you're able to stay in the moment and perform. Having that mental control will allow you to boost your performance. But what mental skills is going to do, first and foremost, is it's going to allow you to understand what is in your control and what is not in your control, and be able to focus your energy in the right places. Another side of things that are really important is the identity around individuals, and this comes under the self-discovery side of psychology. Michael Gervais, who is a sports psychologist and performance psychologist, states that there's two aspects to psychology: one's self-discovery and one's mental skills. And I feel like they're both connected. And the self-discovery side of it, I'll also be introducing here within the mental skills as well. But individual identity, gaining clarity within themselves, understanding their values and their purpose, understanding who they are when they're at their best, who they are when they're not at their best, what they can contribute to a team, things like that. Those are some things that we'll be going through. And I find identity is hugely important to performance. And there's this quote that I have found, and it says, "It's hard to play for someone you don't know." So if you don't know yourself, if you don't know why you're playing, then it's very hard to play for that person, because you're just out there being and doing. You're not really, there's no purpose behind it. And the same with teammates. So if you as an individual don't know who you are and what your identity is, and your teammates don't know, then the team is all scattered. But if you have a team that knows each other and knows who they are and what they bring to the team, and you know your coach and what they bring to the team, you're able to unify, and under pressure, you'll be a lot stronger, because you understand the strengths and weaknesses of your teammates, and you understand how each other can handle challenges. But what all that comes back down to is understanding yourself individually and why you're playing and things like that. So that's a hugely important part of mental skills and performance, is individual identity. And what these sessions will hopefully do for the players will allow them to gain a greater clarity on themselves and why they're playing. And another very important thing is that the skills that we learn on the soccer field have the ability to transfer across all of life, not just soccer, but transfer into the classroom, transfer into relationships, transfer into home life, things like that. So developing these mental skills will become very, very beneficial across all formats of life. And so that's a really important thing to remember, is that mental skills are pretty much life skills, and they can apply to any situation, and you'll be able to use them 10, 20 years down the line in whatever environment you're in. And so starting them at a youth age is only going to get you ahead in the game and allow you to develop some good mental qualities and mindset, so that when you're faced with challenges now, you can address them. But then when you're faced with challenges in the long run, you can also still address them with some of the same techniques and tools that you'll hopefully learn. And so what are some of the benefits? As I mentioned, we're going to be building a foundation for the players to grow from, and that foundation starts with identity. And once we are able to build that foundation for the individual and where they are currently, we'll be able to grow from that and develop from that mentally. Now, some of the keywords that people love to hear in terms of mental performance or psychology, like confidence, grit, resilience, well-being, stress management, composure, decision making, these will all come, but these aren't what we're going to focus on as such. These are results, and they're the product of having this solid foundation and having this clear purpose and clear values and clear understanding of themselves in their training, in their daily lives, so that when they come to having a lack of confidence, they're able to figure out and find ways to gain their confidence back, or that they've been able to develop a mindset where they are able to be gritty in situations where they need to show grit and resilience. So these are benefits of mental skills, and they will come. They are not immediate, and it's not like we do one session and bam, child A is now very full of resilience and grit because we did a session. That's not how I work, and that's not how the work that we'll be doing is going to go. But these are benefits of mental skills, and once again, the more work we do, and then the more consistent work with the mental side of things that the individuals do, the more it will transfer over to life skills, and they'll become characteristics or character strengths that they'll be able to carry wherever they go, sort of thing. And then something really important to note is what mental skills is not. And a lot of times people talk about going to a counselor or a psychologist, and people often associate that with being broken and needing a quick fix or needing a fix. Now, mental skills isn't therapy. It's not a quick fix. And it's really important to know that you don't have to be struggling. You don't have to be down on confidence or motivation to benefit from mental skills. That mental skills are for everyone, and everyone has areas of improvement in life, whether it's you or your parents or your coaches or your teachers. There's always place for growth and improvement, and mental skills can benefit you no matter what stage of life you're in. With it not being a quick fix, it's also not a one-off work as well. We talk about training physically and technically and tactically, and how often we do that. We need to train mentally at similar regularity, whether you start at 5 minutes per week, just training mentally in different ways, or 20 minutes per week, or whatever. But it's got to be consistent work, just like the physical body, just like the technical work, just like the tactical work. It's so important that it needs to be done consistently. And so hopefully we'll get the players into a good routine where they are doing at least one session a week, and then they can review previous sessions so that they are getting the mental stimulation and developing mental skills on a weekly basis. And so it becomes more part of their character, and it becomes more part of their daily life. The process and method that I'll be delivering, I've kind of touched upon it, is I'll focus on individual identity first, and that will set the platform. So focusing on who you are and what you value, why you play soccer, things like that, that's going to set the platform to performance. And then once we have that connection, that individual connection with themselves, so once a player is connected to themselves and they know themselves, then we can start exploring and figuring out what areas of the performance-based mental skills topics that they need more work in, or what areas do they not understand, or they lack, sort of thing. So once we have that clarity behind the individual, we can then explore the purpose behind the athlete and where they want it to take them and who they're trying to become, and then we continue to build from there. So individual identity first, set that platform, and then we'll slowly grow into the performance-based topics. 5 sessions that I'll be working through. You can see there, we'll start with individual values. Something that's really important is values is a significant indicator of behavior, and that is proven through research. Anyone's individual behavior will stem from their values and what they find important and why they do things day to day. Second session will be on self-awareness, understanding the individual, who you are at your best, who you are at your worst, what makes you your best and worst, and also what you as an individual can bring to the team. So understanding your qualities and bringing them to the team. And then when the whole group understands all their qualities and you bring them all to the team, they can better refer to each other and better perform, because player A might need a bit of a pick-me-up, and player A knows that player C is a real energizer and someone that's high on encouragement. And so player A can go to player C because that's the value that they need there. So developing the self-awareness individually, but then in a team for individual strengths, will be session 2. Session 3 will be on goal setting. And the reason why we're doing goal setting is just to go through the process. This isn't setting a be-all end-all goal. This is just teaching a goal setting process. And the biggest thing that we'll be doing is adding the why to your goal setting. Why do you want to achieve that goal? And then what that goal is going to do for you, and then how you're going to get to that goal, sort of thing. But the key thing to the goal is the why you want to achieve that goal. And so it gives the player purpose behind what they're trying to do, what they're trying to achieve. And so that they have a deliberate and intentional set of behaviors based around achieving a certain goal. Session 4 will be based around a control circle, understanding what is in your control and what is not in your control. I mentioned it earlier, and that's a huge thing around performance, and it relates directly back to the goal setting, is that once you know what is not in your control, you can send all your energy towards what is in your control, and you can better focus yourself on what you're trying to achieve. And if different thoughts come into your mind, you're able to, I guess, sift through them and figure out which thoughts are actually important, what's not important, and then focus on what you can control. So that'll be session 4. And then session 5 is all about weekly planning. And this will be about getting the players to understand what they require personally each week to perform at their best, or to attempt to perform at their best. And so they'll be able to review, go through a week and see how much training, how much studying, how much sleep, nutrition, hydration, all of that. And after a couple of weeks of doing that, they can then reflect upon, okay, I had a really good week this week. What was it that made it good? And then if they had a really poor week the next week, they can compare the two, and they can be like, okay, well, I didn't do enough of this week. That's why I had a poor week, sort of thing. So the weekly planning is allowing the player to understand what they need personally to perform. Now, all of these sessions will come with a worksheet, and that worksheet doesn't have to be a one-off. You can print out as many of the worksheets as you want, and you can go back and you can do it again, or you can take the worksheet and 6 months down the line, you can do another one, sort of thing. But I just want to talk about the first 2 on that, the individual values and self-awareness. Now, I'm 27 currently, and I didn't go through a process like this until I was 22 or 23. I had played soccer all throughout high school. I achieved a scholarship and went to university, and I'd been playing soccer for 2 years since graduation, when I finally sat down with myself and figured out what values were important to me. And I've asked myself why I'm playing soccer, and my answer was quite surprising. And it changes year to year, but it's just me refining it. And currently, my why, or my purpose for playing soccer, is 1, to see the world and experience new places, new countries, new cultures, meet new people. And the other side of it is I'm there to explore my potential and see how good I personally can become. And that's irrelevant to anyone else. I'm exploring my own potential, and I'm using it as a vehicle to see the world. And so once I set those two, that purpose in place, it allowed me to have a clear focus of where I wanted to go with it and what I wanted to do, instead of always having these thoughts in my head of, why am I playing soccer? What am I doing? Do I really want to do this, or do I really want to do that? Where do I want to go? And so I was able to then develop this clear purpose and this clear view of where I wanted to go. But the fact that I did it at 23, just if I'd done it earlier, it may have been a lot more helpful. But starting early is so important, because once you start, you'll just continue to refine it, and you can reflect year to year, and it could change completely, and that's quite all right. But having the ability to reflect back to where you were a year ago and understand, okay, well, I learned that I don't want to play soccer for this reason, or I do want to play soccer for that reason, and you can just continue to refine it. So getting this stuff early in their mindset, and setting a good mindset early, will only be beneficial. And I wish I'd done it earlier. And you can look across the internet and see the amount of people, or the amount of athletes that have started to engage in the mental work, and these are elite athletes, and saying, I wish I had done this earlier. The amount is just insane. And some of these players are elite athletes, and so I can only imagine how good they could be, even more so, if they had a clearer view when they were younger, sort of thing. So that's just a little insert about at least the individual values, self-awareness sort of thing, and the importance of it. I've found a lot of value in it, and I would hope that the players do too. And some of these skills are also very relevant to like coaches and managers and parents as well. Having values around why you coach, or why you're a manager or whatnot, and having self-awareness of what you bring to the environment is so crucial. So these things are very beneficial, no matter the age, player, parent, manager, coach, and no matter the stage of life as well. It can be used wherever, whenever. So where do we go to from here? Well, the coaches and managers are in charge of contacting me to book sessions for their teams, and the sessions will be delivered directly to the teams. So going back, a coach will contact me, and then once we set a contact date, we'll start with session 1 in week 1 maybe, and then week 2 we'll go to session 2, sort of thing. So it's up to the coaches and managers to get in contact with me to book their sessions with the team, and at a time that works for the team, for the players, and things like that. What's going to happen is the sessions will be addressed via Zoom, 30 minutes maximum. I don't want to overload the players with too much information. It'll just be me walking through the individuals or the team, walking through the material and the worksheet that's attached to the material, and then allow them to work at their own pace after the session, or whenever they wish to go over the material. It's not homework. I'm not going to be checking it. I'm not going to be marking it or anything like that. That's not the point of it. These are tools and things for the players to use for their development, and they can choose to engage with the tools as much or as little as they wish to. Each player is different. Every player is at a different stage of their development of their career, and so some might find value in some sessions versus others might find value in other sessions. So it's not a competition. It's simply individual personal development work to build these skills and set the platform and the foundation to build these mental skills. And this is a benefit of being a CFC Academy player, is that this work that I will be doing with the teams is part of the yearly fees. And so it's something that is not additional to the yearly fees. It's not an additional thing for the teams to have to come up with additional money to pay for. This is part of the academy fees for the year. And I think it's really great that CFC has chosen to invest in something like this, because in the current climate of the world, the mental side of sport and the mental side of life is becoming more and more important, and having the ability to train the mind and to understand the mind and have control of the mind is so important, on and off the field. And so I'm very grateful that CFC is willing to invest in me to deliver this information and help the players. And I hope that coaches and managers take advantage of it for their teams and for their players to benefit from. And the last bit is for the players especially, is to enjoy the personal development journey. I'm sure when they go out on the field and they're training on the field, or they go to the gym, or they're doing strength and agility sessions with Richard, that they're having fun and they're enjoying it. It's the same with this mental work. It's there to be enjoyed, and it's there to be fun. It's fun to explore your mind and figure out what you actually enjoy, or what you want to do, or where you want it to take you. So it's not something that should be a burden on players. It's something that should be enjoyed to explore and figure out what works best for each individual. Now, I am available to do one-on-one work as well, and that's more so mentoring work, and that can be with or without parents. I know some players prefer parents there, or some players prefer parents not to be there. This one-to-one work is separate from CFC Academy, and so this is just a little plug for myself, that I am able to do one-on-one work if anyone were to choose, or were to seek out work individually from me. And I will place my, if I can, where's the chat gone? I'll place my website in the chat right now if you'd like to visit there and send, contact me through my website for a free consultation if you're interested. That's what it's there for. But yeah, that's just an individual plug for me there. So now we've gotten through a good chunk of it, and we're going to go to questions. And we had a couple earlier questions. I don't know if Kim, do you want to share?
I do. Thank you for such an excellent presentation. Great information that we can all definitely use. One of the questions is, how are we supposed to hit a mental restart after a loss?
Yeah, it's a good question, and there's many elements to that. What I will say is, you can break it up into the individual aspect of it, and you can break it up into the team aspect of it. Especially for an individual, it's important to reflect on your personal performance, and did you do did you play up to the best of your abilities? Did you contribute in the best way that you could? But the biggest thing is, for everyone involved, is that coming up to your next game or whatever, that you're in the moment. You're not worried about the 4 losses that you just had previously, or you're not worried about the last game. That's in the past, and you can't control that. And so it's really important to be in the moment and be present and take it one action at a time. There's a great quote that I was shared with me during one of my courses, and it's, you can't win a moment you're not in. And so if you're playing in a game, but you're still back in game 1 earlier that day of a tournament that turned out to be a loss, if you're mentally still back in the game where you lost, you're not there to be present and to focus on the task at hand. And so you're not going to be able to win those moments or compete in those moments if you're still focused on something else. So losses, they're hard to take. I've lost many times before. I've lost grand finals before, all sorts. But there's only so much you can control, and you got to focus on what you personally can control and your personal performance. But then you got to be present and be focused on the task in front of you and at hand, and not worried about the past, because the past is in the past, and that's not a reflection of where you are currently.
One other question, and then we've got one from Rose in the chat room. Returning from injury, it sounds like that may be the same concept as recovering from the loss. What about when you come back from an injury? I know that I was always the one who's like, oh, don't hit me, don't come near me. How do you do that, Eric?
Yeah, that's a tough one, and everyone's different. A lot of what I would suggest is to reduce the negative thoughts. You don't have to be positive, but just reduce the negative thoughts that surround the potential to re-injure, or you're getting scared to go into tackles. But then once again, focusing on what you can control. Have you done your rehab to the best of your ability? Have you done enough strengthening to the best of your ability? Have you improved your fitness? Things like that. Are you doing everything to the best of your ability to put yourself in a situation where you can be confident in your body, that you're no longer injured, and that you can go out and perform again? So yeah, controlling the thoughts of what you can, or controlling what you can do physically, but then controlling your thoughts and giving healthy energy to healthy thoughts, and not really detrimental thoughts, is two key things that I would say in terms of mentally returning from an injury. Focusing on, once again, what's in your control, and focusing on things that aren't negative.
Excellent. Two very crucial points that I need to incorporate in daily life, soccer or not. Rose was wondering if there are any skills that players can use to still be able to perform well when they're at training or a game, when they just don't feel like being there. Maybe they're super tired or sick or something. What kind of things can they do to sort of pump them up to make them want to be present?
That's a great question, and it's something that I've actually done not some research on, but I've had lots of conversations about. What I would suggest is, if you show up to training, you're a 4 out of 10, so you're only at 40%. Can you be the best? Can you show up 100% at 40%? So we're not asking you to be the best player out there, but we're asking you to give as much as you can at the level that you feel you're at on that day, sort of thing. So can you just be the best 4 out of 10 on that day, instead of trying to become a 10 out of 10 when you're really only a 4 and you only have that much energy? So it's something that is it's not easy to do, but once again, it's in your mind. You can put everything out of it. You can, I'm tired, put that out of your mind, and be like, I have a task at hand that I'm going to give my all to. I might not feel great, but that's all right. I can still give 100% effort, even if I don't feel like I'm a 10 out of 10. I can still give everything I've got and be the best 4 out of 10 I can be on that day.
Perfect. Thank you. We had a question came in just asking about if teams don't particularly choose to participate in this mental training, if there are individuals on the team who might be interested, how we could work that out, with you. But that's something that the administrative staff can work with you and the team.
If a coach or manager is, and that's quite all right. Coaches and managers, they all have different views of how they want to do player development. That's quite all right. But if there's members on that team, or groups of players on that team that wish to do it, we will find a way so that through the CFC Academy branch, they get covered. That wouldn't have to turn into a one-on-one sort of situation.
Perfect. Looks like we've got a couple of players who are ready to quiz your brain here, Eric. What mental drills could a player do to help stay calm and be in control when there's a bad call, etc.? This could apply to mothers out there as well.
I think this could apply to coaches, managers, parents,
Yes.
players.
Mark and Silas have excellent questions.
Once again, and I've spoken about it quite often, is you can't control what the referee does. You can't control what the opposition does. You can't control what the opposition coach does. It's one of those where, yes, of course, if it's a penalty against your team in the last minute of the State Cup final, that is frustrating. And players at the elite level still find that a challenge. I'm sure many of myself or my teammates would as well, but it's not in your control. So it's not something that you need to give energy to or react to. And if you're able to accept it and move on, then you're going to be in such a better position after that. And it's not going to stay in your brain, sort of thing. So if we're looking for a quick skill or whatever, you can stand still for, it takes 5 seconds max while everyone else is complaining to the referee. You could stand still, shut your eyes, deep inhale through the nose, big exhale through the mouth. Do that once or twice and just reset yourself. And when you open your eyes, you're like, next task in front of me, or next focus, sort of thing. So that once, you've closed your eyes, once you open, that player's gone. And once again, that's in the past. I'm in control of what I can control, and that is my actions for my next move. So if we're talking about a little quick technique or tool that you could use, a couple inhales through the nose, deep breaths, big exhales, open the eyes and reset yourself. Thank you.
Mhm.